The Second Amendment gives us both the right to effective self-defense and the obligation to act responsibly as guardians of even more than ourselves with respect towards our laws. This remarkable quote was stated by Cedric Alexander, a commentator for CNN, going over a section of the history of our gun laws. Today I wish to go over the advantages and disadvantages of gun control and regulation laws towards our society. Gun laws should be a concern to everyone in this room, but are especially important to not only those considering owning a weapon currently or later on, but also those who don't completely understand the purpose of our gun laws. As someone who personally has went over these laws for my own research, I wish to share this crucial information with you today. So for the next few minutes, I'll go over the background, advantages, and disadvantages of gun control and regulation laws towards our society. As VPC.org stated, gun control laws have been around in this country since the 1700s, but started taking more effect during the 1960s. They first took full force with the Gun Control Act of 1968, demanding the licensing and interstate tracking of ammunition and firearms. The next major regulation was the Brady Act of '93 that demanded background checks and a 5-day waiting period. Then starting in 2016 with the campus carry law, gun control laws were thrown between two different political sides. And every state began choosing how lenient or strict their gun control laws needed to be, whether they needed to change, create, or ignore multiple gun control laws. The main mission of gun control and regulation is to reduce gun violence and deaths by restricting certain laws. However, there are many advantages and disadvantages to take into account when understanding our gun control and regulation laws. Now that we've walked through the background, let's move on to the advantages. Research from RAND.org shows that stronger gun laws, such as permit requirements and background checks, are associated with lower gun violence and deaths. Concluded from their most recent research, they stated even a 1% reduction in homicides would amount to about 2,500 fewer deaths over a decade. Michael Price stated the 3 laws that would heavily reduce gun violence by 10% a year would be limiting children's access, restricting concealed carry limits, and restricting stand your ground policies. The second major advantage is keeping guns out of the hands of criminals, in turn preventing crimes. They accomplish this by demanding firearm dealers, manufacturers, and importers to keep records of all firearm sales. And then law enforcement take those records to help trace guns back towards crimes. Also, thanks to background checks, millions of sales were prevented to people who are legally not allowed to own guns based on previous criminal records. The third major advantage is the removal of access to firearms to those physically or mentally unstable. With no direct access to these weapons, suicides can be prevented, and it also allows time for the emotions and ideas to pass, also giving time for someone to potentially intervene. This has also helped to prevent mass murders or public shootings as well. We've gone over the background and advantages of gun control and regulation laws. Now let's move on to the disadvantages. The Second Amendment protects the right to own guns and was created for the main purpose of effective self-defense. More restricting gun control laws can be seen as a violation of that very right. For example, according to OJP.gov, more armed criminals are killed or wounded each year by armed citizens than by police, proving that owning a gun is the most effective way to protect oneself from crime. Next, according to Britannica.com, some argue that gun control laws are ineffective and useless. For example, some say that cities with strict gun control laws, like Chicago and New York, have some of the highest crime rates to this day. Also stated was Vanessa's argument that criminals will break laws to own guns, whereas law-abiding citizens, by obeying gun control laws, will find it difficult to purchase guns and may be faced with the challenges of protecting oneself from crime. Gun laws can also impact our economy negatively by affecting the firearms industry and related sectors. Stricter regulations can lead to the reduction of sales and potentially jobs over time. For those unaware, NSSF reported the industry contributed a total revenue of $70.52 billion, with 393,696 jobs as well. Today I've discussed the background, advantages, and disadvantages of gun control and regulation laws towards our society, providing a better understanding of the advantages and disadvantages of both political sides. I would like to thank my present audience members today and leave on another remarkable quote by Robert A. Heineken. Weapons are not dangerous until the ones behind them make them dangerous. Who truly holds the blame and needs better control? Thank you.